Next, I'm delighted to introduce a session from our underwriter, Narrowing the Tech Skills Divide. In a new report called Tech Jobs for All, I hope you heard in my voice that there's a question mark at the end of that title, JPMorgan Chase has detailed the tech training landscape. Chauncy, Lennon, workforce initiatives at JPMorgan Chase, and he's here to lead the conversation. He's joined by Lisa Frey of State Farm and Billy Lane of Scholas, a nonprofit that provides free IT job training. Chauncy, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good morning. So you've heard about the economic development opportunities in Dallas. You've heard about the tech sector. We're going to talk about how the tech sector can really create opportunity, especially for people who are not on a track to get a college BA, people who are going to go into what we often call middle-skilled jobs, jobs for people who have a high school degree, a post-secondary certificate or some training, but not, at least right away, going to go to college. Now, the report you just mentioned, you just heard mentioned, Tech for All, you can get a copy on your way out. We wrote this report. I'm sure many of you are familiar. There's a lot of hype about tech jobs, and a lot of that hype is is worth believing. This is a sector that's growing. There's lots of great jobs in this sector, and importantly, because tech hiring is often skills-based, it's about what skills you bring, not what pedigree you have. There's lots of opportunities for people who often don't get in the door for lots of good jobs. So we wanted to step back and understand more about, given that incredible opportunity, understand more about how it is all sorts of people can access these jobs. You've heard a lot about boot camps as being one kind of training, but there's lots of other kinds of training opportunities. There's the tech training that happens in our traditional community colleges and four-year institutions. There's the tech training that happens through apprenticeships and internships. There's the tech training that happens through MOOCs, massive online courses. And there's the tech training that happens through a new kind of hybrid institution, which is both community-based, often highly integrated with employers and focus on these jobs. And so we felt it was important for people to understand that there was a big ecology here, and each of those pathways to a tech job have strengths and challenges. And the report really goes into that set of issues. Look at the demand side of this equation, what employers are doing on this issue, because we're not going to train our way out of this. It won't be the case that we can just figure out how to train lots of people and not solve our problems. Employers have to be an important part of this conversation so we can get to fixing what are often some traditional challenges in workforce development, challenges around alignment between employers and training providers, challenges around getting job seekers the right credentials, challenges around data. How do we know? How do we know that people who are getting training are actually making a smart investment because they're getting jobs in the sectors that they were aiming for? So the report goes into all those details, and we're very excited to have this be the start of a conversation, so I'm looking forward to your thoughts and comments when you've got a chance to take a look at it. But I'm most excited about today having two people who really represents the components of these equations. Lisa, who represents one of the larger employers in the Dallas region that's had a rapid growth in tech hiring for state, and Billy, who leads a nationally known training provider who's recently opened up 2 years? Who's recently opened up a training program here in Dallas. So I want to start by having each of you talk a little bit about the work you do and kind of the key opportunities and challenges you're seeing around building a pipeline of tech talent here in Dallas. Billy, why don't you start?
So thank you, Chauncy, and thank you for this opportunity to talk about the work that we really enjoy doing here in Dallas. Scholas is a national organization headquartered in the Bronx, New York. Anybody from the Bronx? Scholas began to expand in about 2012 after being in the Bronx since 1995. 2012, it expanded to 2 cities in Cincinnati and Columbus, then went to the D.C. area. In late 2014, hired me to open up the Dallas location, and next month we'll begin operations in Atlanta. And so that's right. We really exist, and we understand that we exist as part of an ecosystem. We do not do this alone. I would not have even dare take this on alone. There are a lot of good organizations in cities like Dallas who do work that allow us to do our job. In fact, in the report, one of the things that I noticed was it said that many people, job seekers, who are looking for various training programs aren't necessarily prepared to go into some of these high-end training programs. So the position that puts me in, because I kind of have a high-end training program, is, okay, what do I do? You know, I have a pipeline problem myself. And thankfully here in Dallas, we found the support of a lot of good organizations, a lot of good community-based organizations, social service organizations who do some of the spade work, if I can call it that, to get job seekers ready for training programs like ours. So that's who we draw from, and then we're able to take the baton from there and to begin kind of develop a little higher level skill, both hard skill and soft skills, and then that gets them ready to pass off to shops like Lisa. In fact, one of our graduates works at State Farm, and so we're proud to say that.
So Lisa, why don't you tell us what's happening from the employer side when you look at how we're building this pipeline in Dallas?
Okay, just making sure. Yes, I work for State Farm. My name is Lisa, and I am not from Dallas. But I think the saying is what I wasn't born in Texas, but I got here as soon as I can. That is absolutely true. I've been here almost a little over 2 years now, and always State Farm has had a corporate headquarters in Bloomington, Illinois, which is about 2 hours south of Chicago. Now, as you know, State Farm has a very strong brand in the community all over the country. Everyone knows State Farm. If I said like a good neighbor, absolutely. So our brand is huge everywhere. However, our IT shop has always traditionally been located in Bloomington, Illinois. We have over 5,000 IT employees there. We do have data centers across the country, but to have all of our IT folks in one location was our standard mode of operation. Then about 2 years ago, we decided to send advanced teams out to Phoenix, Dallas, and Atlanta, and I was thrilled to be part of the Dallas team. So 2 years ago, a team of 6, and we were told, figure it out. So we did. We took something very fuzzy, very gray, and turned it into what we now have over 500 people in our IT shop here in Dallas. And Phoenix and Atlanta are growing as well. It's a 3 to 5 year strategy to grow, but we were told to figure it out. So we established relationships with universities, the communities, the local community colleges, and some technology associations, specifically Tech Titans, is who we really learned to get to know a little better. What we learned with those relationships was that recruiting here was an amazing experience because there are so many qualified IT professionals here. There are also a lot of students here very hungry for those kinds of jobs. And so we have worked with our technology association and with our universities to figure out who really is interested in State Farm. Some of our biggest challenges are brand. And it may not sound like a challenge, but it absolutely is. We're State Farm. No one that I know has said when they were born and when they grew up, I want an insurance company. And I don't really know many software developers who say, my goal in life as a software developer is to work for State Farm. It just isn't there. So the brand for IT is something we had to start in all of our other cities. Bloomington, Illinois is a very small town, and we were a big fish in a small pond. Here it's exactly the opposite. So our biggest challenge was raising awareness about our IT brand. What we learned in Texas specifically was that people who are in Texas have been born here. People don't like to leave Texas very often. So the students that you're talking to from kindergarten all the way to through 12th grade are the students who will become the future of the workforce. So very, very quickly we learned not only do we need to attract IT talent at the collegiate level or at the professional level, but really start to plant those seeds as early as elementary school. And so a lot of our focus here in Dallas is definitely on recruiting and hiring, but also on STEM engagement.
That's great. There's lots of challenges here, right? So you're talking about this kind of building the pipeline, both of you. One of the other challenges you see in tech employment is, of course, the skill demands are rapidly growing and evolving. So I'd love each of you to say a few words about, how do you see your organization's position to either adapt and create new kinds of pathways, or to make sure that you're signaling with enough time to the training community that you're looking for new skills as you're Billy, why don't you go first?
I see myself in Lisa's office quite often, and folks like her, because that's exactly right. when you say that training needs to be employer-driven, the question is, what does that mean? Does that mean that the employer, as soon as they kind of figure out the landscape, they're saying, we need? Or does that mean, yes, we will make ourselves part of this ecosystem, we're going to communicate as best we can what our needs are, and we're going to invest that pipeline of communication open first so that training organizations like Scholas, we can understand what you're looking for. And I think the challenge there, Chauncy and Lisa, is that it changes so fast. And sometimes you don't always know or have enough time to articulate, what you need before it's already on the table. And so I think just the key is just to stay in communication.
I would definitely agree with that, Billy. I think that there's a sweet spot for, so when you have a long-term direction or, we're all trying to hire for IT or we're all trying to grow IT professionals here, that's a long-term strategic direction. But there are some things that happen in technology so quickly you almost can't adapt to that. And so constant conversation between the community, the educational community, and then the industries here, I think, is critical to ensure that kind of mid-course correction, if you will, when you're facing that long-term direction. Another thing to think about is we at State Farm, and other companies do this as well, there's a very strong tie between the business goals and the technology goals. And so there's constant communication internally as well to ensure that what we're doing to meet our customers' needs is there. And sometimes the technology behind that has to quickly change in order to make that happen. I look at smartphones, and that changed the insurance industry and all industries tremendously. Our customers don't necessarily always want to go into an agent's office. They want to be able to text, call, anytime, anywhere, any way, and they want experience or consistent experience in all ways of communicating to their company. And that changes how we do our technology. And so being able to have that conversation with our business partners internally, know our customers, and then know the place around us where we can get the skills is critical. So there's a sweet spot there I think that we need to always keep in mind as we communicate.
One last question. So another, as I said at the start, one of the things why we're all excited about this is this idea of skills-based hiring and the opportunity that creates for people who are often locked out of these kinds of jobs. Can you both say a few words about what you're seeing in the Dallas market? Are people able to come in and get a credential that gets them on a pathway to a job, or is the BA requirement still creating a hurdle that people have to get over?
We've had this conversation, and the answer is yes. The BA hurdle is still there, and we understand it. You're an HR department. You're held accountable for acquiring competent talent. My position is to expose that there is a different pool of talent, a very robust pool of talent in cities like Dallas that actually is in our underserved neighborhoods that probably being overlooked. But there's a reservoir of talent there. It's our job to kind of put that talent in front of folks like Lisa and let them see it. Most employers like to drive it before they buy it, and so that's what we're going to give you the opportunity to do.
So one of the things I think that's the most challenging with that for us is, as we're looking at the IT talent, it's not necessarily the skills and the prior education that makes someone a competent employee. It's those soft skills as well. So we can have someone who has an amazing resume of technology skills, amazing background, amazing history, yet they can't tell their story. And so one of those things that we are focusing on here in Dallas, and really as we recruit all over the country, is that being able to tell your story as potential employee. What we're seeing here, though, everything is it's going very well. I do have to say the skills here and as well and the education and the kind of opportunities that potential employees have to develop themselves in technology professions is very strong here. There's a reason State Farm and other companies have come to Dallas, and there's many reasons. And I know that there was a lot of research done long before my job here ever became available as to why we chose Dallas. One of those reasons is because of the technology pool of candidates here. And the fact that the city is focusing on that in events like this and in the constant communication about that shows not only State Farm but other companies that we not only want that, but we want to continue it and grow it. And I think that's huge. I think we've seen nothing but success because of that.
So I think the other piece here, when you think about the sort of strong buy-in from employers, a robust training community, is really sort of getting us to the place where we have data. Can we see the evidence about how can actually put you on a pathway that in some ways is comparable to any other kind of BA pathway? Do we is that part of the conversation? Are you looking into ways to sort of understand, as a training provider, how the people you're training are doing? Are you tracking sort of the different kinds of training providers you work with and what that looks like within the firm once people get there?
We absolutely do. We track that data. In fact, job seekers who complete the program, we are committed to them for a minimum of 2 years. And so what we want to see, in that 2 years is how long have they, when did they first obtain that initial placement? How long did they keep it? How are they performing? Are they moving up? Are they proving that kind of value? Now, here's the data that I'd like to see, at least I've talked about this, is I would love to see some comparative data on how a graduate who's come through one of our training programs compares to a BA. Who sticks with it, who advances it. If they're, and my argument is, if they're both equal, that's great. Then let's understand that we have two talent pools that we can draw from equally.
So looking at the long term, our story here is still being written. We don't know the long-term effects of what we've done in these past 2 years because we don't know how of employees is going to be, how their development is going to be. But I can tell you this, those who've already started here in Dallas at State Farm are getting promoted. They are developing themselves, taking continuing education. And we absolutely do track the kind of training we do all across the country in all of our departments, not just in our IT department. So that definitely does factor into what we measure for our employees' success. So check with us again because, like I said, the story is still being written.
All right, well, join me in thanking our two for this great conversation. And there'll be copies of the report available when you leave later today. Thanks so much.